Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is My Career, My Calling on Down on the Radio. I am your host, Stephanie Fletcher-Lartey, and welcome to another edition of My Career, My Calling. Today, we are doing something slightly different, but as you know, things happen, and so sometimes we have to change it up a little bit. Today, I want to take you on a journey on this program. And so thanks again for joining us. Now, if you are joining us for the very first time, this is My Career, My Calling on Down on the Radio. And this program is brought to you by iCare Community Services. This program has been designed particularly for migrants, and our aim is to provide information and feedback to the migrant community to encourage them to participate, to succeed in the Australian workplace. Now, a few weeks ago, we started with this discussion about dreams, and today I wanted to continue with that discussion. So I hope you may indulge me, because this is going to be another exciting program. Now, invite someone to come along to watch this program so that they too can get the benefit from what we are discussing today. Now, a few weeks ago, we talked about how to follow your dreams. And we said that your dream can be either big or small, but it is really important that everyone should have a dream. And it is also equally important that you follow those dreams as much as possible. Now, we went through a few steps about how you may be able to follow your dream, and I'm going to summarize those today. We said that it's really important to catch a clear vision for where you want to go, because it's really important to know where you are going, and that will determine how and when you get there. So it's important to have a plan. It's also important to have an idea of what you want. Now, a lot of us, it's very difficult to know what we want because of many different things, but it's very important to have a purpose or a goal that you can work towards. We also said that it was important to find people who are going in the same direction as you. It's important to find people who are doing the things that you love and to get information from them. It's important. Sometimes these people can become your mentor. These people can become the person who become your advisor to give you tips and pointers about how they've started this journey and how they have made it thus far. The third thing we said was to set large goals and the small goals that will help you to achieve the larger goals. And I personally have tried this, and I believe it is working. Now, like anything else in life, be prepared for setbacks, because setbacks do come along the way. Sometimes, we are preparing for the journey. It might not be just smooth sailing. It is not always smooth sailing, and so it is important to be prepared for setbacks. The other thing that is important is to figure out the steps that are going to get you to this destination. Because, like everything else, if you're building a house, you need to have different steps. You need to build the foundation first. Then you need to get the walls and the windows and put everything together before you can live inside of that house. It's very important to figure out the steps. And like everything else that we've mentioned, it's not always easy to figure out what are the steps to be taken. Sometimes it requires a lot of planning and a lot of revisiting the drawing board. Sometimes we have to go back and erase some parts of the plan, but it's really important to figure out those steps of where you want to go, and to make sure you record them. And then, as always, be prepared for the challenges that will come your way, because like everything that you're about to achieve, there will be some setbacks. There will be people who will discourage you. There will be obstacles. It could be sickness. It could be things that have happened along the way. And the setbacks might not necessarily be negative things. It can be you got married, you had a baby, you had to move overseas, you had to, a parent or a family member is sick, or financial challenges. But it's important to prepare and to know what will happen when these setbacks come along the way and how you will overcome them. But it is important that when setbacks come, that you still keep your eyes on your goal. And the sixth step we said was find a way to use your dream to help other people. Many of us, we are very selfish with our dreams. Many of us, our dream is about how can I become big? How can I become famous? How can I do this and how can I do that? But what I've noticed in life is that the people who are truly successful are the ones who always bring other people along with them on their journey. There are those people who always look out for the other people along the journey with them and also to give them a helping hand. Because I believe that every journey is more enjoyable when you have other people along for the ride. Now, it's really important that we talk about the other aspects of having a dream, because I know the 6 steps that I've mentioned, they sound so beautiful and they sound so easy, but along the way you can have major setbacks. These are what we call dream killers. It's really important to anticipate and to prepare for how you will overcome the dream killers. Now, I personally have had lots of things that have come along my journey that have often tempted me to give up on my dream. There are things that have come to discourage me, and I'm sure you can relate to that as well. Things that will come along the journey to discourage you from following your dream. And sometimes these discouragement can be from the very people who encouraged you in the first place. It's important to know what the dream killers are, and so you can keep an eye out for them, that when these things come along the way, you may be able to identify them and to make attempts or find strategies to overcome them. Now, I believe that the number 1 dream killer is laziness. Laziness, I believe, is one of the biggest dream killers. I've seen young people who have started on a journey. I've seen young people who have a big, bold vision. Young people who were thriving and ready to get started. Adults who've had a big vision. Along the way, they became distracted with things, or they couldn't bother. I can't be bothered. It's too hard. It's easier to do nothing. Those are some of the biggest dream killers. It's really important not to allow laziness to deny you of your dream. You see, every dream requires some amount of work. If your dream is big, then it needs big work. You know, when we started the program in the first session, we mentioned that if the dream is too small, if it is so small that only you can achieve it, it's not big enough. It's not a good dream. So it means that you have to be careful of laziness, because anything that is worth having is not easy to come by. So laziness must be avoided at all costs. I'm not saying that you can't take a break or you shouldn't rest. I'm not saying that. But it's really important to make a balance and to ensure that you don't lose sight of that goal, because laziness can cripple you. Laziness can keep you bounded in one situation. What laziness does, it comes and it creates excuses. Oh, I'm tired today. Oh, I will do it next week. Yeah? And laziness is a close relative of the word procrastination. It's very important not to allow laziness to overcome you on this journey and to kill your dream. Now, not having a clearly defined goal can be also a dream killer. Why do we say that? If your goal is not clearly defined, then it means you don't know where you're going, and then anything can help you to achieve that. You know, if you don't have a clear goal, then you are likely to become confused. For example, if your goal is to save $100,000 by the end of 2020 to put down as a contribution or as a deposit towards a house, and along the way you find everything, you decide that I'm going to buy an extra car, or I'm going to go on a holiday that's cost 20,000, or maybe I will just buy some bling bling. How will that contribute to your goal? It's important to write down the steps that you need to get along this goal, because if you don't have a clearly defined goal, then you won't really know what you want, and then anything that comes, you will accept it. Anything that shows up, you will say, oh, maybe this is my goal, maybe I can take that. It's really important to know your goal really well. Now, it's also important to break down the goal into small, achievable objectives. And that is what will help you to overcome this dream killer. Okay? Because if your goal is not clearly defined, then that will really mess you up. All right? Now, one of the things that often plague us, and this happens to everyone, it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your religion, your sexuality, I'm not good enough is a big dream killer. Sometimes the dream that you have, sometimes the dream that God has given you is so huge, it is so magnificent, but because of your circumstances, your immediate circumstances, you begin to think, oh, this thing is, I don't think I can do it. Nobody in my family has done this before. None of my friends have done this. What will my friends think? Those people that I hang out with, they think, oh, you are too show off. It's really important to recognize that everyone has a unique purpose and a unique destiny. And the size of the destiny that you carry will determine the size of your dream. But you have to, each of us, we have to decide how big we want our dream to be. You know, if I may share this, I am a small town girl. I don't even call myself a town girl. I'm from a very rural community. I didn't know many people in my community who went to college or university. But from I was very young, I had a dream that I wanted to be different. I had a dream that I had a purpose that was very big. As I mentioned on previous programs, I didn't really understand the magnitude of the dream, but I just knew that there was something great in my future. And what I did was, I always prayed and asked for direction and wisdom about this dream. And whenever the opportunities presented themselves, I would always seek to take those opportunities. As I grew up and my dream began to become clearer and clearer, I began to recognize that, oh, these things I need to do in order to take me in a direction where I want to go with my dream. Now, many of us, we can become so discouraged and disoriented by the things around us. It's really important that we don't miss where we are going and don't allow inferiority to bring us down and to bring us away from our dreams. And many times, these feelings are encouraged by the people around us who don't have any dreams, who don't know where they are going. So they will discourage you. Hey, you mean to tell me that you want to become a pilot? What do you mean? Look at you. This small community, we don't even have an airport here. How you want to be a pilot? You know? Then they will say to you, hey, so you want to go to college? Look in your family. Your grandfather, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, your great-great-great-great-great-great-mother, nobody in this family is gone to college. What about you? What makes you so special? But you are special. I am special. Because every one of us, we have a unique destiny, as I said before. And so our dreams are often influenced by the kind of destiny that we carry. So it's important not to belittle yourself and to say you're not good enough. And in the same vein, it's about listening to negative talk from people. There might be some people who have started on that journey and they have lost their way. They didn't make it and they're looking for company. So they are telling you, oh, see me, look how brave I am. I started that journey and even me, I couldn't finish. Yes, you couldn't finish, but that doesn't mean I can't finish. You know, it's really important to find people who can speak positive, people who can help to encourage and motivate you. You know, when I was a teenager, when I finished high school, and I was a little bit unsure about what I wanted to do with my life, I got a job in the local library in my area where I'm from. And there was a young man working in that library who watched me. He was observing me for a little while. And one day he came to me and he said to me, you know, when I look at your personality, I see you going to work in the community. You are very easy with people. You just know how to approach people. You know how to put people at ease, and you know how to solve problems. That young man introduced me to the field of public health. That was almost 25 years ago. That young man was the one who encouraged me to take up the pathway of public health. But you know what? He had actually dropped out of public health school. He dropped out of public health school, but he saw in me something that he thought was fitting of that area, and he encouraged me. We need more people like that around. We need more people who can see the potential in you and encourage you in the right direction. But not everybody is like this young man. A lot of people will say, oh, me, I didn't make it, and me, I don't think you can do it because it's too hard. It's too hard. Man, if you know how hard the exam is, hey, I wouldn't even bother to think about it. If you know how much money it is going to cost you, hey, can your parents afford that thing? Hey? But you are married, you have 3 children. How are you going to go back and do that master's? Are you crazy? But what you need is to close your ears to the distraction and the negative words. Yeah? And to ensure that you don't allow the negativity to infiltrate your soul, because you need to stay positive and keep your eyes on the goal. Sometimes along the journey, you have started the journey, and as you begin to progress, it becomes difficult. Like everything else that is worth doing, there will be challenges along the way. Along the way, you might become sick. Things might happen. And then you begin to look at these issues and they begin to discourage you. They begin to say, hey, I don't even know why I started this. Like me, when I started my PhD 10 years ago, I remember when the reality of my situation hit me. I was broke. I was starting to get sick. I was in a new environment. I didn't have any family or friends. And there was a day when I held my head down and I thought, what have I done? I gave up such a good life and look how I'm suffering. But thank God that, you know, I already had a connection and that I was able to pray and God showed up for me. It's important not to allow the challenges and the hurdles along the way to derail you and to push you off the path. Yeah? Now, money is another big thing that can be a big discouragement. As I just said, financially, it can become so difficult that you might think that it's not possible. I can't finish. Where's the money going to come from? Where? Years ago, I remember when I was doing my master's, I had to leave my home and rent another apartment in the city. Now, my salary was not that bad, but it still wasn't that good for me to be paying 2 rent. Because I rented an apartment and then I was renting one for the university where I was staying. And it became so difficult financially. But you know what? I am so grateful that I am a woman of faith. And I trust that God will provide for me. There were days when I was down to my last dollar. And in the nick of time, somebody would come through. I would get what we call a little roast. You know, sometimes I would get, somebody will ask me to help them with some research or some data analysis. And they would pay me. And that is how God would provide for me. And sometimes, yes, it might seem difficult and it might seem like you won't reach anywhere, but it's really, really important to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep moving, because, sometimes, there's a saying, they say, God help those who help themselves. If you keep moving, the resources will come. Sometimes people will watch you from afar and realize that this person is diligent, this person is struggling financially, and sometimes that is how a breakthrough will come. So keep pushing and keep moving on. Sometimes the other thing that can kill your dream is the wrong motive. Sometimes we are going after something because other people are doing it. That is one of the other things that will completely derail you. It's important not to go after something because other people are doing it. Your dream must be something that is unique to you. Yeah? It must be yours. It must be something that is driven from inside. I want to become a preacher because that guy is a preacher and he's rich. I want to do PhD because Stephanie has done one. I'm not saying that you mustn't admire people, but what I'm saying is, don't go after something just because somebody else is doing it. Because many people have done that and they have become discouraged along the way because that's not really what they are meant to be doing. That's the point I'm making. It is good to admire people and to find, as we've already said, that it's important to find people who are going in the same direction where you want to go and to learn from them how it is done. But don't follow somebody just because you don't have anything else to do. Okay? It's really, really important. Sometimes we set unrealistic goals. It's really important that our goals are realistic. In business and in management, we talk about SMART goals. It's important that our objectives are SMART. It means that they are achievable, they are specific, they are measurable. It means that at the end of the day, you should be able to see the outcome. How will you know that you have achieved it if you can't measure it? How will you know that this thing that I want to do, how do you know that this dream that I wanted is a reality? You should be able to achieve it. Some of the things that we try to do is unachievable. But then again, I will put a little extra rider on that one. There's nothing wrong in dreaming big. And there's nothing wrong in having faith in something that's bigger than yourself. Because dreaming is all about that. So yes, while your goal should be achievable, and while the philosophers and people will say, oh, it mustn't be, your dream should be big, yeah? And by God's help, you will be able to achieve that big dream. Now, the other thing that really kills people's dream is frustration or this feeling of becoming overwhelmed. Oh, what if I don't achieve this dream? You become so caught up into this thing that it becomes even deadly. It becomes like poison to you. Your dream should be something that is inspired from your heart. Yes? You should be inspired to follow this dream. And sometimes, as we said a few weeks ago, you might start off following a dream and then you realize, actually, this is actually not what I really want. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually better to start dreaming about something and then you find out along the way that this is not what I really wanted. But that dreaming is what started you on a journey. It's really important not to give up and not to become so despondent. As I said earlier, there will be hurdles, there will be stumbling blocks, there will be things that come your way that can hinder you, can delay you. But one thing I know, that when God has given you a dream, even though it may be delayed, it will never be denied. And finally, don't ever quit on your dream. Don't ever give up on your dream. If your dream doesn't come through today, it will come through tomorrow. Years ago, I had a dream that I wanted to work for a certain organization. I began to plan my career along this line, that eventually this is where my career would take me. As I grew up and I got older and my worldview began to expand, I became more convinced that I wanted to work for this kind of organization. Whether it was the one I had in mind initially or something similar, but I had a big dream. More than 10 years, 11 years ago, I had a taste of what this kind of organization felt like. And that convinced me even more that this is where I wanted to be. Things happened along the way. I moved countries. I moved, and I did a lot of other things along the way. I did jobs that was not exactly the one that I wanted. But what I did with those jobs, I gained skills that I would need for when I get to that place that I'm eyeing. This year, my dream of working with my dream organization has come to pass. The dream that I've had for over 11 years has finally come to pass. And I will begin my dream job very, very soon. This to me is a big testimony that the dream may not happen today, but if you keep focused and you never lose sight of your dream, it will happen. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. It might not even happen next month or next year. But if you continue to plan, continue to make those goals, continue to follow them, continue to dream about them, continue to find people along the way to learn from them, continue to make the small goals, continue to work hard at your dream. One day, that dream will become a reality. As we move from here, I want to encourage you who are listening and watching this video, never give up on your dream. It's really, really important not to give up on your dream. It's important to nurture this dream and keep on the path that you have started. It's so important that you never give up on your dream. I hope you've learned something today, and I hope you've been inspired and encouraged. That's it from me for today. I want to thank you for joining us, and to take you out, I want to encourage you, never give up on your dream. I am Stephanie Fletcher-Lartey with My Career, My Calling. See you next time, same place on Down on the Radio for another episode of My Career, My Calling.